they're able to stretch the floor. They're able to play defensively, and especially considering their lack of size, is going to be important because they're going to be taking on a huge duo in Zach Collins and Przemek Karnowski from Gonzaga in the regional final, which you can also catch today. It'll be the early game. I believe it's at 6:09 Eastern or 6:09 Pacific, so 9:09. Nope, no, 6:09 Eastern, sorry, 3:09 Pacific. You get able to catch that. Both these games on TBS, which is going to be awesome. So again, forget the records at this point. It's going to be really good, and we'll pick them, our winners, in a second. But we still have last night's games to go over as well. UNC and Butler. This was going to be a pretty easy game. North Carolina has been through a lot the last couple of days, just squeaking by Arkansas, and a Butler team who's very impressive thus far in the tournament, but no answer for North Carolina, winning 92-80. North Carolina is going to be a very hard out in this regional final. Then they're going to be taking on Kentucky. Between this game between North Carolina and Kentucky, this is probably the best game that you're going to watch left of the regional finals. Maybe Florida and South Carolina will be interesting as well, just because of the dramatics that we saw between both these teams and the stories for them to get there. But North Carolina is as hot as a team left in the field. Joel Berry II coming back from an ankle injury, not playing as well against Arkansas, coming back for 26 points. Josh Jackson with 24. And May coming off the bench, adding another 16 for the Tar Heels. I'm assuming they're also, again, up there as like you said, right behind Kansas as a favorite to get to the Final Four, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, they look pretty good. When it comes to going on the next games, South Carolina, Baylor. South Carolina is the shocker of the tournament, I would say, along with Xavier, in terms of the fact that this is their first Elite Eight in school history at this point. Frank Martin coaches defense. And you could see that against a Baylor team who typically puts up, I believe, between 70 and 75 points a game, and they are held to 50 on the night. They're going to be playing Florida, and we'll talk about that in a second, the dramatics as well. And along with Xavier, they have some of the most athletic wings left in the field at this point. South Carolina is a team that no one's taking seriously, but I think they need to now at this point, right, Tom?
Yes, they really do, because making Baylor only shoot as a field goal as a team, only 30% from the field, and the three-pointers only 23%. That's pretty amazing that they were able to keep such a high seed like Baylor down to only 50 points. South Carolina was definitely efficient on the offensive side as well, where they had 46% field goal shooting, and for 3 points, 40%. Rebound-wise, they were both even, so that didn't really make too much of a difference. South Carolina had 40, and rebounds, and Baylor only had 37. Turnovers, though, that's one thing that South Carolina needs to take care of now before they face Florida. They had 16 turnovers, just like Baylor did, so they were creating turnovers, but they were also making that mistake. So for them to make it to the Final Four, they need to limit the turnovers.
They do. And again, I think that's one thing that Frank Martin preaches time and time again. And even you saw in the second half, up by 15, he's a guy who's very energetic. He will yell, he will scream, he will get you on, he will get you focused. I'll tell you that much. If he was an alarm clock, I'm pretty sure I'd be up before that alarm clock went off just because I would avoid it at all costs. Moving on to Kentucky, UCLA. That was the matchup that everyone was looking forward to. A lot of NBA talent, future NBA talent was on the floor. TJ Leaf and Lonzo Ball for UCLA. You had the Kentucky freshmen. You had De'Aaron Fox. You had Malik Monk, Bam Adebayo. All had good games, but the matchup everyone was watching was De'Aaron Fox versus Lonzo Ball, and that was the matchup to watch. De'Aaron Fox, very impressive on the night. 39 points in 36 minutes of play, 13 of 20 from the field, and 13 of 15 from the line. Outballed Ball, who got 10 points and 4 of 10 shooting, including 1 of 6 from three-point range. Ball's probably worst performance of the season, and couldn't come at a worse time as Kentucky defeats UCLA 86-75. Tommy, I have Kentucky in the Final Four. I mean, they look as good as anybody to win it all at this point, and their freshmen right now are really good and probably some of the best in a while, mainly because of their quickness and versatility on both ends of the floor to play offense and defense. How do you like their chances against North Carolina, Tom?
They're pretty even with North Carolina, I would say. When I was watching the game yesterday, their troubles against UCLA was an alley-oop or a big man going up for the dunk and pretty much splitting the defenders and just going in and getting the bucket, which UCLA should have done. But Kentucky does have some good things. Their pick and sweep action that they used and having one person on fire pretty much making all the shots. That's what Kentucky is known for pretty much. So if Calipari has a hot hand on the team, whether it be Fox or another player, that's the player that they're going to have to worry about because they're going to make the plays. They're going to be the ones who will be scoring the most. If UNC wants to stop them, Meeks has to be a solid defender, especially underneath the bucket when it comes to people trying to penetrate the zone. So Kentucky and UNC, definitely going to be a great game. I'm definitely going to be watching it.
Yep, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, Lonzo Ball declaring for the draft. No surprise there. He'll probably go top 2. Again, him and Markelle Fultz will be duking it out for the number 1 spot. A lot has been said about more about LeVar Ball in the last couple of days, namely taking shots at players all around the league, namely LeBron and his kids, and LeBron obviously firing back. I think we're sick of LeVar Ball at this point, right? I think it's over at this point. Just stop it.
Yeah, it is. He's just only doing this just to get more advertisement, more press, so that when Ball goes to the draft, he'll be the number 1 person that everybody's looking at. But yesterday, if you actually did watch the game, LeVar Ball did not play that great a defense. He may have had 1 or 2 good blocks, but other than that, when it came down to the last 2 to 3 minutes, he looked sluggish. He didn't look like he wanted to be there anymore. He already had his decision made up after the second half just because they knew they weren't going to go past the Elite 8. It's dreadful that a player does not have the attitude to continue playing for the very last moment so that the seniors might have a glimmer of hope to go into the Final Four. It was to the Elite 8. But it was just his attitude. It didn't show that he wanted to be there anymore. So it was going to happen that he was going to declare for the NBA draft. No doubt about it. But just having that attitude, I'm going to say that he's not going to go number 1 in the drafts.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge component to think about, especially because when you're going to go in the top part of the draft, typically speaking, unless you go to the Celtics, who have the Nets pick at number 1, you're not going to be going to a good team. So that attitude, you're going to have to change that because, you're going to be the face of a franchise, but you're not going to be on a winning team right away unless you get drafted by the Celtics. So and again, he's projected to go to LA at this point, to the Lakers. If that's the case, he's going to have to change his attitude just a little bit and figure out, hey, look, I'm not going to be in the playoffs for maybe a year or 2. I got to figure out to make the best of my situation. And that's what he's going to have to do. Because I did see that too, Tommy, and I didn't really bring that up, I guess, because, it didn't seem important. But, hey, I guess it's a nice component to bring up, especially when scouts and GMs are going to mention the draft. Hey, you didn't look good the last 3 minutes of the game. What's up with that? And they're going to ask questions as well. Moving on to the last game, and arguably the best game. I don't know, Tommy, if you watched the game at all, because it was late when it ended. It ended around like 9:30, 10 p.m. on the West Coast. So it was about 1 a.m. back east. But Florida and Wisconsin, what a game that was. Again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, it's a game that described all the March Madness feels. You had a game late, a three-pointer, a discount double check. I don't know if you saw that. And then a buzzer beater at the end. Florida comes out on top in overtime, the first overtime game of the tournament, 84-83. Florida goes on to meet South Carolina, and what a game that's going to be as well. again, of the 8 teams remaining, 3 of them are in the SEC: Kentucky, South Carolina, and Florida. And one of them already is guaranteed a Final Four spot because Florida is going to be playing South Carolina. So, of the 8 teams remaining, you have an ACC team, 3 SEC teams, a Pac-12 team, a West Coast Conference team, a Big 12 team, and a Big East team. Based off that, Tommy, does that mean that the SEC was the best conference in the nation this year, or was it just, hey, that's just how the tournament plays out?
Well, I'm going to go back actually just to make sure that I have some of the right teams, and I'm going to say that's just how it played out. SEC just had some good competition. They definitely had against some decent opponents. Florida came from beat University of Virginia 65-39, and then they played Wisconsin, and they did really well against them, even though they went to overtime. South Carolina had to power through some ACC teams like Duke, Baylor, and Marquette to actually get there, so they had a decent travel way through the bracket as well. I do have to say that it might be the SEC that is a good division to play in, but I'm just going to say that's how the cookie crumbles when it comes to the bracket. They just had some great teams that they had to play against, and they just played well enough to get there. So.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I mean, look, the SEC I don't think was considered at all the best basketball conference in the country. Everyone thought Kentucky was it. Maybe Florida, would add some component there, but they've been inconsistent all season, and nobody thought South Carolina in their right mind will be at this point on the verge of a Final Four. But when you look at them, you analyze South Carolina a little bit deeper. Yeah, they do have very athletic wings, and they play defense very well. They can take care of the ball for the most part when it matters most. They're going to have to take care of that in a close game against Florida for them to do so. Now, moving on to the Elite Eight matchups, we'll start off with Xavier and Gonzaga. I'll say this, Tommy, people were making fun of you at the beginning of the show when you picked out the bracket, saying, yeah, no way Gonzaga comes in. This is another Gonzaga team that's going to bounce out early. But based on their side of the bracket, you have Xavier, Florida, and South Carolina left. I would say Gonzaga is the overall favorite to get to the national championship game just based off what's remaining. But of course, right in front of them is Xavier, who took out Arizona, and that's going to be a really, really good matchup, as you mentioned. Do you still have Gonzaga getting to the Final Four?
I still have Gonzaga going to the Final Four, yes. The reasons being is Xavier is a decent team, but one team is definitely going to make history in the NCAA tournament's West Regional Final. The matchup predictor is Gonzaga has an 88.4 chance of winning against Xavier, who only has 11.6. The people that Xavier have Trayvon Blewett. See, I learned the names.
There you go.
The program.
There you go.
Has 18.7 points per game this tournament and a free throw percentage of 75.8. Person on Gonzaga that everybody needs to watch out for is Nigel Williams-Goss. He's got 16.5 points per game, but he's very efficient on free throw line and in field goal percentage area. He's about 50%. Jonathan Williams is a definite rebound warrior when it comes to defensive rebounds and offensive rebounds as well. You just have to look that it's going to be a close game no matter what. As you said, throughout the rankings, it's not a 1 versus 11 anymore. It's a team versus a team. So when we're looking at this, I still have Gonzaga being the favorite to beat Xavier, only because they have more experience. This deep, Xavier hasn't been this deep since 2008. So I'm going to say that Gonzaga is going to score at least 80 points this game, while Xavier will probably only score about 70-some. Yeah.
It's going to be a high-scoring game, and I definitely see that. I mean, considering both games Xavier putting up 73 against Arizona, Gonzaga being held to 61, but again, it was against a team like West Virginia that presses all game long. So I do expect this game to be a little bit more free-flowing in this regional final. Do I still have Gonzaga winning it?